Welcome to Startup Spokane, where hosts Steve Traben and Megan Halsey explore the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. Startup Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's Startup Spokane, our friends at Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Megan.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, your podcast home for everything startup and entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. I'm your host, Steve Traben, along with me, Megan Halsey, and we're a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated at Startup Spokane. We're here to provide you with our region's story on entrepreneurship and showcasing our entrepreneurs and the resources that exist in our region to help you launch or grow your business, whether you're doing it here locally or whether you're coming in from outside of our region to make Spokane that next great place for you to live and thrive in. Megan, how about introducing today's guest?
Yes, Steve, I'm really excited to be able to introduce our guest today, a long-standing member of the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Spokane, and also a former entrepreneur himself. He now teaches entrepreneurship at Spokane Community College, and so I'm excited to introduce Mike Allen.
Thank you, Megan. And we used to work together at one time,
right.
Once upon a time. Thank you for the introduction. And it's actually excited to be here. It's my first time to be here with you guys and talk a little bit about what we do in our program.
Yeah, and Mike, I mean, you're no stranger to the ecosystem. You have taught entrepreneurship. I was counting in my head at Eastern Washington University, Whitworth, North Idaho College, and you even continue today to teach at Whitworth. In their
do,
MBA,
yeah. This past
MBA
year,
program.
I taught both their graduate program and their undergraduate program.
And so Spokane Community College is very fortunate to have you as a tenured faculty member there.
Not quite tenure yet. I got one more quarter to
Well,
go,
you'll
but
get,
yes.
okay, you'll get there. You'll get there. But
And the other thing that's exciting that what most people haven't talked about is that SFCC, they now offer a 4-year degree, and their capstone class is an entrepreneur class that I'll be teaching as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think really, what we want to do today, I know we want to get to the latest pivot, if you will, or evolution of the program at the community colleges around entrepreneurship. But I think for our listeners, we should give them a little bit of a history of how the program's evolved at SCC, and you can start.
And you were integral in it, so
I might fill in a little bit.
The program started, what was it? About
2007.
About 11, 12 years ago now. So, and it was really a brainchild of Vista, and you were part of that. And there was a partnership that developed with the community colleges of Spokane, and they developed this entrepreneurship program that was a roughly 6-month program, and it was called the Integrated Business and Entrepreneurship Program, IBE. And it had great success, and it went on for the better part of 9 years in the same format, has produced a tremendous amount of businesses in our community, from bakeries to auto to welding. So it's more the lifestyle type businesses, as well as a number of restaurants that have come out of it as well. So we see a host of different students every year. Last year I had a consultant in one of my classes who he focused on visioning for the future, and he launched his business this year. So what we really try to do, we've evolved the program a little bit as well.
Yeah, so let's talk before we jump into kind of current state.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, the IBE program at SCC started as a full-time, during-the-day program, and I know this was a little bit before you started there, but then they provided evening boot camps, right?
Correct.
And
so what we've tried to do, we really see ourselves as one of the key education providers for entrepreneurship, to help people who have not necessarily have a lot of experience to get in and understand how to put a business together and get started. And to achieve that, we have added really a number of different programs into the system, including the boot camp, which runs for 7 to 8 weeks. It's in the evenings. It's ran 3 times a year, and it runs from, I think, 6 to 8:30, 2 nights a week during that time. And it's been very successful. Well, I think we have 3 or 4 businesses that have launched out of that. We took the 6-month program. This is something from the academic side of the house, the daytime program. We've changed that around as well. So it used to be this 6-month monolithic program. But when I got there, I started looking at it and say, how do we make it easier for people to come in and out of the program based upon what their needs are? Because a lot of the materials that we were covering, since they were already students, they were already covering in other classes. So when someone comes to visit with us now about getting either a certificate program or getting a full-time student in the program, we look and figure out, what is it they need? Do they need marketing help? Do they need QuickBooks help? Do they need operations help, sourcing help? So we try to figure out what their needs are and have them kind of do that in the preliminary area, and then we can move them into a full-blown entrepreneurship.
So you really
business
create
plan.
kind of a customized, tailored program for each entrepreneur.
It is, yeah, it really is. And the nice thing about it is that if you're a full-time student, you can take the classes as you need them over the course of a 2-year period. But if you still want to come in and get your certificate in a short window, you can still do that as well. And if you are somebody who's gone through one of our workshops, or has been referred from you guys who already have a business kind of plan in place, or most of it, we can just put you straight into the business plan class itself, and then get that and refine it and get it developed over the course of just 1 quarter, 11 weeks.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, so for our listeners, your program is open to a traditional student or anybody, or a non-traditional student, right? I mean, so you don't have to go to, you don't have to go back to college to get into this class.
That's
Talk
right.
a little bit about, there's some different tracks.
Yeah, so the different tracks. So we have, we'll start with the boot camp. That's a non-credit class that runs in the evenings. So that's a track. Then we have another track where you can come be a full-time student for the 2 years and get a 2-year degree and specialize in entrepreneurship. Then we have what's called the certificate, which is 30 credits or 2 quarters, which you can come in and then we will tailor what your needs are based upon our interview with you and set up a schedule. And then lastly, if you already have most of it in place, you then can come in and just do 1 quarter with us and even just take the entrepreneurship class itself, where we help you get ready to launch.
Yeah. Great.
So we are totally flexible, and we also have scholarships available for just about every one of those programs.
Now, I've also worked with some of the folks coming out of the SEC program who actually went in who already had a business up and running, but needed some help to refocus and maybe grow or pivot a little bit too. So, you want to talk a little bit about how you guys can help companies that already exist?
Yeah, we have, this past year, we've been testing this concept called a LaunchLab. And the LaunchLab is really a continuation of, it's really for people who've already launched or someone who's looking to launch in the next 11 weeks. And what we do with them is that I've tried to create this program where we can take your business idea or concept, and if you have your business plan, to get you to a minimum viable product in the 11 weeks and get going.
Wow.
If you already have an existing program, we figure out what your needs are to help you get to the next level. And then with both cases, what we try to do is surround them with a team of students who can help them either do prototyping from the college. So we're trying to do this as an interdisciplinary education experience for the students as well as for the person who's trying to get their business to the next level. And we offer all kinds of programs, from design to photo to websites to social media to prototyping with 3D computers to welding. I mean, we have a complete arsenal of type of students who might be able to help support a business concept to get going.
So Mike, you talked about it as an 11-week process or program. Is this occurring at what points throughout the calendar year? I mean, I think you started in January. It really will depend, and it really depends on the need. This current year that we're in, we're probably focusing more on spring quarter being the key. The one thing we noticed with our enrollments in the program is, we used to have 3 teachers in the program. Now we have primarily me because we have the other areas of interest. The entrepreneurship generalship class will run in spring itself, because where they were doing the 22 weeks, they now are taking care of the things that they need to get good with in the first 11 weeks, and then really focusing on delivering in the spring quarter. Yeah,
primarily.
that's good, and that's a great time for things to culminate anyway, right? I mean,
It
when you
is.
think about the business plan competitions that exist in our region, access to those things. The timing aligns nicely, I think.
And we're also looking, if we have enough good ideas, to run the LaunchLab all year, and including summer. We're really, one of our objectives is to help businesses go from I'm ready to get going to get going. Having taught this for a number of years, I've seen a lot of students have really good business ideas, and then they walk out after the quarter's over and they just float into the ether and never truly get started, even though they wanted to. So with what you guys are doing with Startup Spokane Central and what we're trying to do at the LaunchLab, there's kind of a natural partnership that can be had there to get more businesses going.
Absolutely, and I know that we've actually worked with a number of the companies that are coming out of several of these different programs to try to help them get going, and we've actually seen some of those companies actually launch.
Yeah, so Mike, as we kind of draw to the end of our first segment here with you, tell our listeners if they're interested in getting involved or want to learn more about the programs and the LaunchLab itself. How do they find out more?
The best way I'm going to just have you give me a call, and my phone number is 533-8902, or email me at mike.allen, A-L-L-E-N, at scc.spokane.edu. Yeah, that's a mouthful. So it's mike.allen at scc.spokane.edu. Or again, my phone number, 533-8902.
Okay, and does the webpage?
The webpage but the webpage is actually getting updated right now, so it's maybe not as consistent as I would like it to be.
Yeah, and Megan, maybe just for those that either can't remember how to spell Mike's name, the other way for people to get access to this is through Startup
come through Startup Spokane, absolutely. And of course, you can go through our website at startupspokane.com, or you can contact us via phone or email through the website as well.
Yeah, so we're having a great conversation, just really getting started with Mike Allen, faculty member at Spokane Community College, talking about entrepreneurship education here in the Spokane region, and specifically with SCC and the evolution of their programs. We're going to take a short break here on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane at Spokane Talks Online, where we are talking to Mike Allen with SCC. And I think now we want to talk a little bit more about some of the nuts and bolts and the curriculum that you guys have developed as a part of your academy.
Yeah, we do actually call these different educational lines, we kind of roll it up into this one concept called the Startup Academy, because we're really tailoring it to whatever they need to do on their education levels. So with what we try to do with the evening courses, because they're structured a little bit different, we use what's called the Core 4 curriculum, which really concentrates on the four main core areas of helping get your business started. It fits well within that window, and we've used it for 5-6 years now, I think. For the daytime courses, we really focus in on the business model canvas, which we do a lot with. A lot of people like to use that specifically as getting a business started, but for us, we use it as a feasibility tool. How does your business fit together at the 40,000 foot level? What are the key things you need to think about? And will this work? So it's kind of the first go, no-go phase. It's like I'd like to tell some students, before this came along, 10 years ago, it was, I've written probably 50 business plans in my life and acted on 6.
Yeah.
So it really helps you really understand, and we dive into each area a little bit so people understand how it fits together. We also use what's called the HP Life. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but Hewlett-Packard has this online platform of about 21 different modules on getting a business started. So we use that as well because it makes students have the real world experience of having to solve business problems as part of their curriculum.
Oh, that's great.
And then we really move into a full-blown business plan, and we use a program called Live Plan. It used to be called Business Plan Pro back in the day when I did my very first business plan ever.
Me too.
That was the software I got.
I think I still have that software.
I do. It still actually loads. I did it not too long ago. But since it's evolved into what's called Live Plan, and it's a great tool to help organize your concepts of your business, but it also makes you do a deep dive. Where it really is helpful is in some of the financial stuff. So those are kind of the key academic curriculum components we do. And then we supplement it with subject matter experts coming in, whether it be from the Department of Revenue or Mark Pond from the library, or intellectual property attorney like Dan Watkins, or bankers. We have a bankers panel that comes in. So we try to make it a real experience to really coalesce around, how you move forward. The other thing I love about entrepreneurship education, and I'm biased here, is that it's also good intrapreneur. So it can be used within companies too, because the principles are the same. How do you evaluate a business concept or product line and then help make the decision on whether to move it forward or not?
Right. And I often talk about entrepreneurship education as being a real differentiator. I mean, it really gives people information, tools, and skills on all aspects of a business that you don't necessarily get as a traditional student, getting a business degree.
Yeah.
So,
and we try to make our programs friendly enough so even if you have no business experience, we will help guide you through that process to understand how it all fits together and makes sense.
So what you're saying is there's really no prerequisites.
No,
you
there's not.
don't have to have a particular background or education or classes that you've taken.
No.
You can just walk in with an idea.
That's the way our whole program is designed. We want to help you go from the idea in your head to launching a business.
And Mike, I speak in a number of the boot camp classes, and there are some students that come into these programs that don't even have ideas, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, in my classes, I make them get up and pitch a new business concept every week for the first 3 weeks. And probably about 80% of the time, they have a better business idea by the third week
than what they
came in with.
Yeah, so I think there's a point of this conversation that part of the curriculum is ideation, right?
Yeah,
I mean, helping people think of what could be a great business idea.
What's missing in this equation? What can be done better? What can be modified to bring to market? Or is there a new market for this that people aren't thinking of right now?
And I love the fact that you talked in the nuts and bolts of the curriculum. You talked about tools like the Business Model Canvas. Mm-hmm. You talk about HP Life. You talk about Live Plan. These are tools that are not just have not just been adopted by your program. These are industry standard tools that are available and that we use throughout our entire ecosystem with entrepreneurs, regardless of what avenue or path they're on or what accelerator program they're working with.
That's really exciting because we can move that Live Plan. If someone comes in with working in Live Plan already, they can utilize the tools that we have available at Startup or with you or at the public library. They even have access to some of those tools at no charge. So that's really nice way to be able to kind of move throughout the ecosystem and share those ideas and come in maybe with a step ahead.
Yeah, and Mike, I just want to touch on another thing that you talked about, and it's the applied nature of your curriculum, bringing in these guest speakers, these subject matter experts, and their expertise and their stories, I think, are powerful. But I often talk to students about the value of those relationships. I mean, the people that they're meeting in the classroom, right, and that are coming into the classroom that you never know when you might need a Dan Watkins from Lee and Hayes down the road, right?
Yeah.
So
that's exactly right. And we try to teach, there's 2 ways you can teach entrepreneurship. It was the way I was originally taught, which was strictly academic, which I look back on now as a misjustice for understanding entrepreneurship. So when I've always taught it, I've tried to make it real world applicable.
Yeah.
I teach it from an application type concept rather than just the entrepreneurship. And part of that is connecting them to real world resources within our community.
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's talk about some outcomes. I mean, this program, I know it's evolved quite a bit. It started in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you from the perspective from Avista that we've had hundreds of students enroll and complete.
Yep.
We've started hundreds of jobs or hundreds of companies that have translated into hundreds of jobs. I mean, we've been making a meaningful impact. Now, like you mentioned, a lot of these are lifestyle-oriented business, which is fine, right? But do you have any specific starts that you want to talk about?
I'll start with 27th Heaven Bakery. She was our student 3 years ago. She's on Grand and 14th-ish. Mm-hmm. It's actually closer to 12th across from the cathedral. But she came through our program and learned the basics and was able to get going. And we've had a company, Sarah McGrew, who came through a few years ago, who started her own cleaning company,
right?
Which she's in her 4th year now, I think.
We have a pet delivery.
We have a business that delivers pet food to homes on a home delivery. So it's like the Blue Apron of dog food,
right?
For lack of a better expression.
And frankly, there are a lot of students coming through this program that have been tied to the culinary program at the community college, and whether they, we've got food trucks, we've got restaurant. People that desire to open restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of very diverse businesses, which, I talk about the importance in our community of the bookends of the types of businesses. You've got to have the lifestyle and the ones that are going to create this really cool culture and vibe and place where you want to play in Spokane, right?
And you and I have had the conversation for years, is that economic development happens at multiple levels. Right. One of the most important levels is that small business environment and fostering it and continuing it to grow. And, if we end up hitting multiple home runs out of here, fantastic. But, what we're trying to do is the education, honestly, the delivery is not a whole lot different in the educational platform. It's, how you do the work and put into it to get you to the next level. So, and I mean, literally, we've had, the company, she started a skincare line not too long ago. And again, I mentioned the consultant who does visioning for the future. And I've had a student who just launched this past week who is a glass blower for the new industry that passed here about 3 or 4 years ago.
Interesting, yeah.
So, I mean, it runs the gamut. He was able to take the same set of skills and apply it.
That's great. And, I want to make another plug, because one of the gaps that we found when Avista first started working with SCC and the entrepreneurship program was access to capital.
Yes.
A lot of these students that are going through these programs do not have a lot of financial resources themselves. They may not have access to a lot of friends and family money. And typically these lifestyle businesses are not businesses that you're going to go get investors easily. So we created the Avista Loan Fund, which is $500,000 that makes available up to a $75,000 loan for any of these students going through any of these programs at SCC, whether they're the boot camp, the startup academy, the certificate program, the degree program, matters not. So it's just another another opportunity for them. Yeah,
and you're absolutely right. And I would think it's not only just SCC students or whatever students. There's a lot of people in the community who have these ideas that it's hard if they don't have capital to get going. So thank you and others who have helped get this loan fund up and running. It's one of the things we do talk about in our class and our curriculum. And even now I've gotten contact from 2 students who went through the program years ago who 2 of them have launched, and now they're wanting to maybe go talk about, I need some sort of an infusion of cash and capital to get me to the next stage.
Yeah, and that loan fund is available. I mean, you can only get one loan, but it doesn't matter, when. Yeah. So that's great.
But the nice thing, too, is that even if they've already taken that loan, they've managed to be successful and grow, there's always lots of other opportunities for funding in the ecosystem, too, and that's one of the things that we can help connect them to at Startup as well.
Spokane's got access to all sorts of debt
It has never been better to try to start a business in Spokane than it is right now.
Thank you for saying that. We agree, don't we, Megan?
We totally agree.
Well done, both of you.
So, Mike, in the couple minutes we have remaining, you're also putting on the first Friday of every month, you're putting on a free workshop, I believe, down at the Spokane Public Library. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in talking with Megan in particular and April, what we kind of really looked at doing was how do we set up another way to get people educated in the business model canvas in a 1 week workshop, or a 1 day workshop, used to be a week, to help them get started to formulate their business concept and then maybe take to the next level to get into mind to market, which you guys have been developing. So that workshop is the first Friday of every month, and it lasts about 5 hours, and we have you construct an entire business model canvas, and we supplement it with Mark Pond from the Library of Market Research.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. And anybody who wants to register can contact Startup Spokane or go to the Eventbrite page for that event. And that's really all the time we have left for today. So I want to thank Mike Ellen for joining us today at Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, and look forward to connecting with you again for more ideas and ways to develop your business.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane, Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.